Today on Community Cooking, we have guest chef Cassandra Bodzak in the kitchen making a mindful, healthy meal. We're cooking up a veggie coconut curry served with a bed of spaghetti squash. It's a meal you won't want to miss. We're cooking with some of the best chefs from right here in our own community, so grab a seat and get comfortable. We have another great meal for you. This is your Community Cooking. Hi, and welcome to Community Cooking. I'm your host, Maria Prekeges, and I'm always thrilled to have Cassandra Bodzak in the house, as we like to say. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Well, it's always so great to have you. You have this fabulous, I don't even like to call it a cookbook, the Eat with Intention. It's a book, I think it's a lot of wisdom, it's a lot of meditation. We'll get more into that later, a lot of great recipes, and one of them you brought here today.
This is one of my favorite. It's
Okay.
a veggie coconut curry recipe.
Now, when I hear curry, I think, okay, fattening, a little heavy sometimes, and I get scared to make it. I'm like, what about all the spices and this and that? But you've really simplified it.
Similarly, I love Indian food. You know, I love it, but for me, one, I'm not good with things being too spicy, and also same thing. I like to know exactly what's going on in my food, and that's kind of across the board with takeout. It's a gamble. I really simplified this, so it's completely easy to make at home, and once you get the hang of it, it can be really such like a nice weekday meal that you can whip up in no time, and you can do it all in one pot, which is great for dishes.
I don't like doing dishes. So it's all vegetarian, vegan.
Vegan even, yeah.
I love it. Let's go over the ingredients.
Yeah, so on the veggie side here, we have some sugar snap peas, some sliced carrots, cauliflower, broccoli. You can totally get creative though, whatever you have left over in your fridge. If you have some potatoes or asparagus, that's the best thing about curry, right? We have some white onion that you're gonna help me chop, right?
I'd be crying.
And I just got some fresh herbs just to top it off. This is cilantro and just some green onions that we're just gonna garnish it with.
Okay.
And then on the liquid front, we do have some olive oil right here. This is light coconut milk, so it's the kind of coconut milk you find in a can. And I use the light version. You could use full fat if that's your preference.
I like light.
And this is just veggie stock. And then over here, we have our spices. So super simple, doesn't have to be intimidating. You got curry, you got your turmeric, and then you have cumin and coriander.
Okay, I'm obsessed with cumin. I put it in everything.
I love all of these, you know?
I do too. And the turmeric, I don't know how to say it correctly, that is really good for inflammation.
So good.
I make a disgusting tea that I love. I read about it, and it's really good for inflammation.
Oh my gosh, whenever I'm sick, I get the root of it.
You go all out. I just do the powder.
I get the root, and I slice it, and I'll slice it with some ginger, which we also have here that I'll slice. And I just steep that in hot water, and it's so good. You can put little honey if you wanted to.
I do. I add apple cider vinegar, lemon juice, and turmeric.
Yes, and then of course garlic. Okay, cannot have garlic. Right?
Are we going to use it raw, or are we going to roast it a little?
We're going to actually add the garlic and the onions first.
Oh, okay.
So that they have some time to saute and
Does that mean I have to get busy?
Yes, I will. I'll handle the garlic. You handle the onion.
Okay. What's your best way? I usually just slice down and chopping it.
Yeah.
Either way.
I mean, the beautiful
the
thing
ends.
also about a curry is that it gives you a lot of freedom as far as like, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Well, and it's funny. So I used to live in a ski town, and for chopping onions, the guys would wear their goggles in restaurants. Yeah, years ago when I was working in a lot of restaurants, paying for my ski pass. You know, because you hear put a piece of bread in your mouth, all of this, and the guys would just put on their ski goggles. And then in some kitchens, there's just a pair of goggles sitting there.
Wow.
My brother's restaurant just has a pair sitting there. People are like, oh, that's cool. It's not bad so far. I say that now. Watch me be in tears in about 2 seconds.
Okay, I come here as your guest and I just torture you.
She makes me cry every time, like a little Greek lady. I cry, said my grandmother. But no, and curry, I mean, you're right, it only has 4 spices. I actually have all 4 of those in my spice rack right now.
You know, it was funny because similarly to what you said, when I dated a guy a couple years ago that loved Indian food. And so I always love to do anybody in my life that I care about, when I find out what kind of food they love, I always try to learn how to make it myself.
Aren't
so I can
you
try
a
to
good girlfriend?
make it better.
Not so much.
It's one of my strengths, right? It's one of my
I love
one of the added bonuses of dating someone who cooks, right?
Yeah, exactly. She's cute and she cooks, people.
But yeah, and I was so intimidated at first too, but when I looked up a lot of the recipes, I realized you can really break it down and you can simplify it. And the best part about taking something that, you already like and making it your own is that you get to kind of eliminate all of the things. You're like, yeah, actually, I don't like that flavor. Oh, that's too spicy for me,
And experimentation in the kitchen is so great. I mean, everything doesn't work out, but I know you took so much time, especially with your book, experimenting and trying to figure out what goes with what, and then the whole health aspect of it.
Oh, yeah. And I find that so fun. I feel like that is the most exciting part for me of cooking and baking, is really looking at what I have in my pantry and what I have in the fridge. And I'm all about that. It's not, if so many of us, I cook for myself a lot. So I'm always like, okay, how can I get rid of these vegetables and what can I do with this? And making sure things don't go bad. And it's what you have.
Do we need to turn on the stove for the big pot, or is that
the pot is warming up for us.
Perfect.
So
she's a step ahead of me. Always.
That's right, on it. And so I'm just going to put a little olive oil in here. And then, so this is kind of like one of those one pot tricks.
Which is awesome.
You start with your garlic and your onions, and you let them saute before you add anything else.
I'm handing you the onions because I'm just now starting to tear up.
You made it.
I was fine chopping them, but the effervescence of onion makes me cry.
Get these away from me.
Oh.
There we go. So we'll let this just start cooking in here. There
okay,
you go.
Thank you. I'll take it back onion free, please.
There we go.
So then, and ginger is tricky for me. Sometimes I actually buy it already in the can when it's all, which you should not do. You always get everything fresh, like we did here at the farmer's market in Torrance.
Right? But it's true, I do the same thing. I do my best to get everything at the farmer's market because that's my preference.
Yes.
But sometimes you're in a hurry and you're going to do what you got to do.
Yeah. So how do you cut it? I want to see ginger.
Yeah, so again, it's like you don't want to use a lot of ginger because it can be really overpowering. So I just slice it nice and fresh.
Okay.
I
love it.
So good. It just smells healthy.
I'm going to start adding this in my little tea, too.
Oh, yeah, you should. And so, so I literally just shave it. Okay. And if you had a potato shaver or something, you could use that as well.
Okay.
But yeah, I just shave it off, and then I thinly slice a couple slices. And I add it a little at a time, just as you would a spice.
Oh, okay.
So that it doesn't become, because me personally, I don't like it too gingery. I know some people love ginger.
I love ginger. I love spice, but that's okay. We would do it mild because we don't want to, kill the entire crew either with spice.
But that's a good thing too, is that, with something like that, you can make the mild version, and then you can always add the spice for the people in your family that like the spice.
There's always some sort of hot sauce on my table. Always.
Yes, no. I'm used to cooking for your kind.
Yeah, for my kind, yes. We like it very, very spicy.
Sometimes like more hot sauce?
Do I have taste buds left? I'm not sure, but ooh, that smells good already.
Doesn't it? I swear. Just like onions and garlic cooking.
Oh, you can't go wrong. And you kept the garlic a little bigger, which I like.
I love garlic. Yeah. Sometimes if it's myself, I'll just keep it like that. I know.
So thank you. I don't have that many mints.
Right? Actually, do you mind? You want to chop this up for me? We'll get that ready for our spaghetti squash later.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's funny. This is a little trick I actually watched. Or not watched. I read. I think it was back in the day in Cosmopolitan or one of those lady magazines, where they were tips to trick a man into thinking that you cook. Which I thought
I should have written that article, let me tell you.
Which I thought was a hilarious premise to begin with.
Oh yeah.
But one of their tips was to, whenever he comes over, leave like just put a bunch of pots and pans into your sink and like bubble it up and just be like, oh, I just like had a great dinner or whatever.
And hide the takeout containers in the trash. Yeah.
But if I was gonna offer a tip, it would be just put a little onions and garlic on the stove with a little olive oil, and your whole house will smell like you just cooked an amazing meal.
I've had realtors say that they'll bake things so when they have an open house, A, they have cookies to serve people, and B, it smells like homemade cookies.
Oh, that's so true.
Isn't that funny?
That is so true. I worked at a cafe in college, and we would do that. We would bake scones and cookies, and it was like attached to the library, so it would just like, you know, everybody would, all of a sudden the zombies would come out, and then we was like, cookies.
So do you want this for the next dish to be a little rough or a little more minced?
Yeah, rough is good.
Okay, I know she likes the garlic.
I like the garlic and onions on everything.
As long as they're cooked, I can do it. I can't eat raw onions. Isn't that funny?
Really?
Cooked? Oh, caramelized and cooked, eat them all day.
So good. Well, it's totally different flavor. I feel like they're like candy when they're caramelized.
Yeah, they are. See, sweets, which are also the queen of. All right, so that's prep for the next dish. And now for veggies, I know you say you like to use whatever's in your fridge or in your cupboard.
Yeah.
Are we going to use all of these today?
Yeah.
Oh, what good. Oh, my next question was.
Yeah.
I like to peel. Do you peel or not called peeling?
Yeah, absolutely.
Boop. This comes with sound effects.
That is also one of those like kitchen therapy.
I was gonna say, because I'm just having a ball here, chatting away with my friends.
It's so true. It's so funny. When I'm prepping for a meal, I just love it. Like I was listening to an audiobook last night when I was like, you know, chopping some vegetables and getting everything ready, and it's just so relaxing. It's
so relaxing. I mean, the health benefits, number one, especially with how you cook and your book. You know, you talk about meditating. For me, cooking is a lot of my meditation. It sounds funny because a lot of people think of, you know, you just sit there in silence or however you meditate. But for me, cooking is really my form of meditation.
Oh, definitely. Cooking was my first meditation. You know, when I was in college, everybody would know when I was in a fight with my boyfriend or if it was the finals or something like that, because all of a sudden, like, the kitchen on the floor would be, like, wafting cookies and brownies, and I'd just be knocking on people's doors being like, will you eat this? Because I can't stop baking.
That's so funny.
And I was like, I need to keep cooking for my stress levels, but I can't keep eating.
But I can't keep eating.
I only have a limited capacity.
I love it.
These are smelling delicious.
They smell great.
So you always start off with your garlic and onion.
Okay.
Right? Not only does it make the whole house smell good, but this way they're a little bit softer and on their way to being caramelized. Because, you know, when it comes to adding your broccoli and your cauliflower and your carrots, depending on your personal preference, you don't really want them to get too overcooked. You want them to still have a little bit of crunch to them. Oh. So we don't want them to be, you know, in the pot as long.
No, I'm ridiculous about timing out. Okay, carrots go first because they're the hardest, then the other.
That's so good.
It's silly.
You know, those are the little details that really, you know, are the difference between like okay cooking and good cooking, right? Where I feel like a lot of people forget about that. They'll make a recipe and they're like, I don't understand why it didn't come out the same way it did when you did. Because there's a little bit of finesse to the timing.
There is. And you have to pay attention, but it's so much fun.
It is.
I was going to say, obviously you cook well, but, you know, restaurants, God bless them. I go to lots of them. But cooking at home, just, you know what goes in it. You know what goes in it.
And also you cook it with love, right? That's why.
Well, and you talk about that a lot in your book as well.
Well, I think the reason that, you know, for many of us have, you know, a soup maybe that our mom used to make. My grandma used to make a soup for me. And there would be something about that soup that was more healing and nourishing, and you just felt better afterwards.
Almost definitely.
And I feel like we've all had that experience where, you know, you don't live at home anymore, your parents aren't close by, and so you get sick and you just, like, go to the nearest deli and get, some noodle soup. And you're like, oh, this doesn't quite do the trick.
You're like, wait a minute. Right, I'm almost done with my snap peas. So you added everything at once, which is great.
Yeah, so now I'm adding all the veggies into the mix.
Carrots. I like your combo. Carrots, cauliflower, and broccoli.
I like it. It's nice and hearty.
Yeah, because I always say I could almost be a vegetarian. I'm close because I love vegetables.
I love vegetables, yeah. And so again, with this too, it's if you want to add, you could add. I add tofu to it sometimes.
Oh, that'd be good.
You could add chicken. You could add whatever your protein of choice is, shrimp to it. And that's what I like about all the recipes in the book too, because sometimes people, I don't explicitly say it's a vegan cookbook, but everything in there is vegan.
Yeah.
But I really, you know, if you're someone that's, you know, trying out to eat more vegetables and wants to experiment with adding different things to your meal, then, you know, you can make a salad and add some salmon to it. You know, make this and add your chicken to it.
I've done that because I am not a vegan or vegetarian, and I can't think of where I'm going to get my protein, so I do a lot of shrimp. Like with a recipe like this, I would do shrimp.
Yeah.
Because it's easy.
It's easy. It's easy, and it's a great base. I love vegetables. I really do.
I would hope to shout she's vegan, people.
Right? No. Well, I didn't actually. You know, when I first went vegan, it was because I had a lot of food allergies, and I actually hated vegetables. So I would literally go. I would go to the farmer's market, and I would pick out 1 or 2 vegetables, and every week I would try to cook those 1 or 2 vegetables. I would get like a bunch of them, and I'd cook them like 5 different ways. I'd try roasting them or sauteing them or boiling. And just to try to find a way that I like to eat that vegetable. I'd like toss them in different like sauces and stuff.
You're vegan.
Right?
But that's why
and
the
now I
book's
can't
so
remember
good
not liking vegetables. I mean, I remember it, but it feels crazy.
Okay, how about, should we add the spices and the liquid in?
Let's add the liquid.
Okay.
So here we just have our veggie broth. This is just a cup of veggie broth.
Okay.
Love the sound.
So
Love the
good,
sound of
I
it.
know.
And this is our light coconut milk.
Okay.
I love coconut milk. Coconut milk is so like thick and creamy.
So good for you too.
So good. And then we have all of our spices. So our curry powder, of course. And with all this, I'm using about 2 tablespoons of curry powder and turmeric. But with these, I really think you should just taste it. You know?
Okay.
Have out all of your spices and put a little in. Like I use significantly less of cumin and coriander. But then you can always go back
and add
and
more.
Taste and be like, oh, does that need a little bit more about that?
Okay.
I think that is one of the first things I learned is that it's easy to add more. You can't add less.
Yeah, you can't take it out. And then we let that simmer for about how long?
Yeah, so I would just let this simmer for about 10 minutes or so. Really not that long at all. Just enough to soften the veggies a little bit.
Okay.
And then what I also like to do is to then let it cool on the stove, or you can move it to a different burner, and it makes it a little bit creamier when you just let it sit for a minute.
Okay. Well, we're going to let it sit for a minute. And we're going to clean up, and when we come back, we're going to show you what you can serve alongside of this. And today, one of my favorites, spaghetti squash. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back, and you're watching Community Cooking.
The average person throws away 24 pounds of food a month.
That's a lot.
Isn't that a lot? Go visit SaveTheFood.com for more information. Thank you. Junk food time!
Welcome back to Community Cooking. If you're just joining us, I'm with my good friend and guest chef, Cassandra Bodzak, and vegetable curry couldn't be easier. I'm a fan now. I'm not afraid to cook it.
Yes, I love it. It's one of my favorite weekday go-tos. It's just
It's
delicious.
a weekday. I'll make it on the weekend and eat it for 2-3 days. I love it. We're going to talk about what you can serve with this.
Yes. So you can serve whatever your heart desires, quite honest, but my favorites are quinoa, brown rice, or sometimes I even make some naan bread.
Okay.
But I also really love spaghetti squash, and spaghetti squash has become a staple that I always have around the house. I always have one of these babies in my fridge,
And they're
ready.
large. And so with the spaghetti squash, I see you have some garlic. I mean, tell me just a few ingredients.
Yeah, so I'm going to show you a super simple way to make it just on its own, and then you can add it with the curry as well, but you can also just eat it plain. If you're, if you have a crazy night, I think it's delicious on its own.
I just scoop it out like this.
So good. So first thing, all I have here is some olive oil, some chopped garlic. I'm going to put that in our pan right here, and we're just going to let that start sauteing right now.
And there are fresh herbs, and then there are fresh herbs.
Those are literally living herbs.
They are
This-
like,
I love it. You know what I like to do? This is a Martha Stewart moment for me. I love when I cook. I get these and I cook with them, but then I put them in a little vase on the table when I'm
oh, that's
right.
so funny.
Because
I
how many
love
times you get all these herbs and you don't use all of them for the meal? And
completely. I had a guest once say then you dry them, and you can actually dry them in the refrigerator. I did not know this, which works out well.
yes,
And then you don't waste them. But I love using them as a centerpiece when you're
they're
entertaining.
so cute.
Oh yeah. But yeah, those are fresh, living herbs.
Those are very fresh. So our herbs are, we have some oregano, basil, of course, and rosemary.
Okay, being Greek, we never had regular oregano. It was always dry. But my grandmother, I always saw it because she would dry it, but she never used, that generation just didn't use a lot of fresh herbs. Isn't that funny?
I think it's something I came into even later in my cooking journey. Because, when I first started cooking, I was just used to my mom. Same thing. My mom at home always just used all dry herbs. But especially when you're doing a dish like this, it adds such a nice
night and day.
Night and day, yes.
All right, so the garlic's just going to sit in the olive oil and roast up a little.
Yeah.
You said at break, you said you'd eat it raw. I'm like, can we roast it, though, a little for me?
Right.
God bless you. So spaghetti squash, a couple different ways you can cook it.
Yeah. So for me, I love just roasting it in the oven, preheat the oven on 400, and then you take one of these babies, you cut it in half, and it has a lot of gooey, kind of seeds and stuff, that kind of like pumpkin vibe in the middle, and you just take them out. As you can see, I kind of cleaned it out, and I even poked some holes with my fork around it.
You can see them.
Yeah, and then I just put them on a baking sheet. You throw it in the oven for
Face up.
45 minutes. Face up.
Okay.
45 minutes, and you can literally just forget about it. The great thing about spaghetti squash is that you really can't, you have a lot of leeway as far as the cooking time goes, where you're not going to, like these, I prefer to cook mine, so it's a little brown.
A little brown, okay.
So it's really, nice and soft and done. But you can also make it al dente and cook it a little less.
You can't
but I
go
love
wrong.
it. And, you can also cook it in the microwave, and it's 15 minutes in the microwave. I personally just love, I can be wrapping up my day, kind of throw it in the oven, and then I have 45 minutes, kind of take care of anything else I need to take care of around the house before I go back and make dinner.
I love it. Super easy. And then it's easy with a fork, and you just take it all out.
It's the fun. Yeah, so just...
I'm going to start shredding.
We're going to start, So you just pull it with a fork like that.
Oh, it's
It's
so
so
good.
fun, right?
It's so good.
You're like, it's magic. It's spaghetti.
Anything you cook is magic, I tell
Aw.
ya. Oh, it's so great.
Yeah, so you're just going to put this into a nice bowl. Be careful if you do this straight out of the oven, though. We've left this cool for you guys at home.
Do not pick up hot spaghetti squash.
Right, use a mitt if you're going to do that. And then you can put it in a bowl, or if you want to put it in a saucepan, if you have to reheat it, you can do that as well.
Oh, that's true, because it won't get mushy if you just
No,
reheat it a little bit.
Just in a saucepan with a teeny bit of olive oil or whatever you're cooking it with, and it's perfect. Spaghetti squash, I feel like it's just such a hidden gem.
Well, it is, and for people, I love my carbs, but I would eat this instead of pasta any day of the week. Put a little red sauce on it,
Right.
homemade tomato or basil or
You know, I'm a big sauce girl, and so I don't know if this ever happens to you, but sometimes I feel like I crave the sauce more than I crave the pasta.
It's you can feed me cardboard as long as there are like 10 condiments on the table.
Right, I'm the same way. I'm all about the condiments.
Yeah, it's like the sauce, the condiments. It's scary. I mean, sometimes my friends look at me
I'm
and they're like,
what
really?
can I make to put this on?
Yeah.
So I love spaghetti squash for that because now it's healthy. You're getting in your veggies. And so, like I said, it's gorgeous, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And this is super simple, super gorgeous, especially if you ever have company over last minute and you're like, oh, what do I put together?
Yeah.
Throw a spaghetti squash in the oven, fresh herbs, and you can't go wrong. I'm just going to shut this off and let that cool.
Okay.
So now comes our fresh herbs.
Okay.
And I have a little olive oil. So what I'm just going to do is just drizzle some olive oil.
And are we just going to give these all a little choppy chop?
Yeah. And I mean, what I like to do, it just depends on your preference. But what I like to do is literally just pick it and throw them in.
Oh.
I think it looks beautiful. If you have a picky eater in your household that's not going to want the whole leaves and stuff, then.
Oh, look, that one is a little hole.
You're like, that's a bit big. But
I don't want to take them off. They're so pretty.
Yeah, right. I just feel like it's beautiful when they're. It just looks so like, doesn't it? It already looks so like clean and fresh and.
Well, and it just adds such great flavor.
Yeah, and that's it. You know, you really don't.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, you really don't need a lot when you're cooking with fresh herbs.
No.
Like you can just do a little bit of olive oil. You know, you can add little salt and pepper if you want, and you're set. So this, I would eat this on its own.
Okay, that could be a meal in itself.
But if you wanted to, you could also skip the herbs, skip the olive oil, and toss that coconut.
Okay, and then we add, is the garlic done? Or
and the garlic, yeah, we go.
Okay.
So garlic, I put garlic on everything.
So you're going to put that in
So I'm
going to
put some garlic on there, and it's just going to give us a nice garlic and olive oil.
Okay. Well, we're going to let that cook for just another minute before we add it. A good time to take a break. We're going to clean up and then taste everything when we get back. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Community Cooking. Welcome back to Community Cooking. Okay, my favorite part, tasting. We actually put the spaghetti squash in with the curry.
Ooh.
I'm going to taste. Ooh, look at that.
I'm going to eat
It's
it too.
just like spaghetti. Well, of course.
I love me some curry.
Oh. Okay, the spaghetti squash with it. And I'm a quinoa fanatic, but you're right. It could be separate with the garlic in it.
Yeah.
Totally amazing. And the roasted garlic, thank you. And the curry is light, but super flavorful.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, super easy. And remember, eat with intention. We're going to eat a lot with intention.
Yeah.
Get it. It's a great book and a great gift. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a blast cooking with you.
It's so much fun, and your recipes were amazing. I hope you all try these at home. From the entire crew, Cassandra and I, thanks again. We appreciate you watching, and remember, we really do have some of the best chefs right here in our own community. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on Community Cooking. Get back to this. Oh my God.
If you'd like a copy of the recipes seen on this show, send us a self-addressed stamped envelope to the Office of Cable and Community Relations. That's 3350 Civic Center Drive, Suite 200 in Torrance, California, 90503. Be sure to note the show number displayed on the screen. And don't forget you can find all the fresh ingredients used on today's show at the Farmers Market. Visit the one here in Torrance at Wilson Park. That's located at 2200 Crenshaw Boulevard. They're open every Tuesday and Saturday from 8 a.m. until 1 p.m., rain or shine. And if you'd like to be a guest on our show, email us at communitycooking@torranceca.gov and check us out online at youtube.com/TorranceCitiCABLE and like us on Facebook at Community Cooking TV.